There's a new technique in Blender that finally allows you to relight green screen. In fact, the technique is so simple that honestly, you always could. And in fact, you're probably already familiar with the technique. The secret is by using normal maps. In a brief explanation, a normal map is a bluish hued map that manipulate the way that light and shadows interact with an object. In turn, this allows us to give off the idea that an object is 3D when in actuality it's two-dimensional. In order to generate a normal map, however, we're required to have three-dimensional depth before, which we can then use to generate a normal map and trick viewers into believing that a two-dimensional texture is actually a three-dimensional object. However, a quick issue arises when trying to apply this to a character on a green screen. And the question becomes, how do you create depth from a two-dimensional image? You could always manually pull vertices in and out, bringing forward the nose and pulling back the shoulders, which in turn allows us to generate some sort of a normal map and generate some interactive lighting, and also creates this monstrosity. However, this falls apart once you play the video. On a video, you'd have to manually create every single keyframe covering the entire animation. Then you could of course apply it as a displacement map onto the model, and through that displacement map, generate a normal map that moves along with the video. However, there's a much easier way to go about this. If we import our footage into the timeline in DaVinci Resolve, we can drop a relight effect on top of our footage and create a depth map. And by checking output surface map, we can cut out the middleman entirely and create a normal map. Then of course you can add a bit of contrast in order to make certain parts pop out a bit more. And with just a few clicks and a couple seconds of rendering, we have hundreds of frames of normal maps. From here, we can just apply these normal maps onto our actual video texture inside of Blender, and our 3D character interacts with the lighting within the scene. Now this works best with footage that is either evenly lit from the get-go, or with footage that has been delit. I'd recommend watching this video on delighting, as it gives a simple tutorial and explains exactly what delighting is. Now if you don't have access to DaVinci Resolve, there are a bunch of different ways to generate depth and normal maps online, such as Switchlight or Runway AI, which can both generate depth maps from videos. The power to relight videos within the viewport of 3D software is a huge development for filmmakers, especially low-budget filmmakers who might not have the space or equipment required to make integrated VFX. Check out my Patreon for more tutorials, and don't forget to subscribe.